What's up, guys? I've got my first F123 gameplay commentary. This is my team. We are at Jeddah, second race of the season. You may have seen, if you're a follower of the channel, I uploaded my first race of the season, Bahrain, with no commentary. This one, obviously, I have commentary that we are doing. I would just go ahead and tell you right off the bat, I made a serious error when doing qualifying here and completely forgot to update my AI level before doing qualifying. So the end result was that I ended up being on an AI level that was like 20 points below where I should have been. Basically, I do the F1laps.com difficulty calculator. I'll practice and just keep it on whatever AI it was on, and it was a little lower for Bahrain. And then I calibrate the AI by using the F1laps.com difficulty calculator after I've done practice so that I'm accustomed to the track. I know what I'm doing. I did it and got something like 72, 74, something like that, but it was still in the 50s from Bahrain. So I completely forgot about to change it after doing the test. And then I go into qualifying. I do my first lap, and I'm thinking, why am I 3 seconds ahead or 2 seconds ahead of the second place guy who was, I think it was George Russell or something, and then realized what I had done. Unfortunately, there was nothing I could do at that point, so I had to retire from the session and start P22 for the race, which honestly I think makes a good bit of sense to me just because we're either tied for the worst car or we might be slightly ahead of the worst car, but we're probably 10th or 11th best car at this point. I just chose newcomer for my team, so it's a bad car currently. We're building it up, but at the moment it's not good. So it is conceivable that I could have qualified P22, although I think I did feel pretty good in preparation for this race. So I do like to think that I could have qualified in maybe the 14, 15 range, something like that, a little ahead of where I should have been. But alas, didn't get the opportunity because I botched it. So that's the story of why we're starting P22 and why you're not seeing a qualifying lap. But we will certainly give ourselves a good opportunity in the race to kind of make up for the quote unquote poor qualifying and try to make a recovery and see if we can get back into the points. I'm not too optimistic about getting to the points, but at least gaining a couple positions might be nice. So we will certainly try that. And you may have seen my little preparation for the race. We're going soft medium, and I took a little fuel out. Just I typed in the number that I got when I was doing the race strategy test during practice, and just went with that fuel load. And we will hope that it goes well, and we will see. So we got the broadcast formation lap here, which I personally enjoy. I think it's a lot of fun, and we will be off to the races in just a moment. You see that I'm starting 2 places behind my teammate Ollie Caldwell. I've been substantially faster than him thus far in practices and races or Bahrain. So I'd like to be able to beat him at the very least. We'll see what we can do. Kept it very clean going through that first corner. There was a lot going on, and it was getting kind of spicy in there. I will say this, I'm a little worried because I'm running a pretty high downforce setup, or not pretty high, but maybe higher than what the meta is generally agreed at this track, just based on what I've seen in some videos online and time trial and stuff like that. But it did feel a lot more stable to me, and I was having some serious problems with understeer. So I upped the downforce a little bit, and that hopefully will mean that I can make up a lot of time in some of the twistier sections, and I may just suffer a little bit in the long straights, but I will certainly give it a go. You see me there run into the back of Yuki, and I swear that this is on simulation damage. Because I hit the back of Yuki there and I thought, oh no, my front wing's broken, and it was fine. I just didn't understand that. And there I run into the back of him again. He just was braking earlier than I thought he would, and I'm pretty sure he had damage just based on the way he was driving right here. And I thought, okay, I've got to get by this guy super quickly. You see us go too wide into that, and it was not ideal. But again, we make contact, and I don't get any damage at all. And I may have cut it out, but I checked my damage on the vehicle condition on the MFD here in a second, and it said it was fine. So I'm honestly at a loss because A couple times, 3 times there, I ran into Yuki, and I ended up running into a couple other cars as well, which I will show you. Just keep watching. Nothing serious, but generally you think simulation damage, that stuff is going to catch up with you there. De Vries kind of let me through there. I don't know. That was an aggressive play. I feel like I make some really aggressive moves in this race. It's a little bit of just trying to figure out what the AI will do, how the AI reacts in this game, because in previous games, I'm thinking especially F122, the AI was notable for turning into you when you were right there. And maybe it was deserved, but regardless, the AI did that. Here, it almost seems like they're willing to give me a lot more space. And I make contact with Logan Sargent there twice. And again, no damage. So I don't know if maybe we've built this wing out of adamantium or something, but I am just doing whatever I want in terms of making contact with these other drivers. And so far, I've not even had an ounce of damage. I perfectly timed that lunge on Logan Sargent, and we're coming into this slightly twisty section. I get pretty good traction out of there and stay ahead of Sargent. And then hopefully I will gain some time going through this section as well. So hopefully we're in a good position there to stay in front of Sargent, I would hope. He's on the mediums, so I have to hope that we can just build a pretty big gap here while I'm on the softs, and then take advantage of what we've built while on my second stint on the mediums. And if you do the math here, you'll notice that I'm doing 35% races. The reasoning is because I felt like it was long enough to hopefully still have a pretty good race length. It's not like just a 5 lap or something, but also it's short enough that I'm not going to get burnt out doing longer races, because I love doing 100% races, but don't feel when I do 100% race like I can do a whole 24 race season or 23 race season or whatever it is. And I probably could. I just don't necessarily have all the time in the world to do that. So 35% feels like a nice little balance to me. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. I wonder if the viewer hates 35% races or loves 35% races or what. You did see me make contact there with Oscar Piastri. Again, no damage. I don't know how. Ollie Caldwell, we're going around the outside, kind of shoot it into this corner a little bit. Always good to pass a teammate. I do feel like I'm faster than him, and he's not going to be my teammate for long. I'm going to sign Jamie Chadwick as soon as we get to the midseason break. So sorry about that, Mr. Caldwell, but it was a good run, and hopefully you can score some points before you leave if I can give you a good car. But you do see Caldwell catching back up with me again, and we've got the same car here. Maybe I was just braking a little earlier. I might have just misjudged the corner a little bit. I think I did. Broke a little early. Caldwell gets back past me, and then I get the angle on him and take the position back. So that was what? I passed him. He passed me. I passed him. So 3 passes within 2 or 3 corners. Definitely keep him busy. And I was able to stay in front of him. And then ultimately pitting here on lap 8. I will say something that I've definitely noticed, and I've heard some YouTubers talking about as well, is just how much higher the tire usage is. I mean, by the end of my soft stint, generally, in a 25% race, you could do soft medium pretty much no difficulties. And honestly, if you got crazy aggressive, you could run mediums for almost the whole race. I mean, it was certainly doable. You could definitely do soft hard, and it was not a problem at all to run hards for pretty much the whole race. But I have found that, for instance, this race I ran soft medium, right? And those softs, I was definitely feeling it by the end. And you could keep watching, obviously, but the mediums too, by the end of the second stint, I was feeling just some understeer, some lack of grip. So I think that's great. I mean, I think that's going to be a really interesting dynamic to the point where I think strategy is going to matter more in this game than perhaps it did in F122. I mean, strategy mattered, but in league racing at least, I pretty much figured out how far I could take the tires, and it wasn't a problem at all. I mean, I do 50% races, and there were 50% races where I did soft medium and regretted it maybe at the end because it was tougher to drive, but I wasn't flying off the road or anything crazy like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that dynamic in league racing. And we'll have league racing. My next race is in 5 days. This is the 23rd that I'm doing this commentary, June 23rd. and our first league race is on June 28th. So definitely looking forward to that. And you, the viewer, will certainly see a lot of those videos. But for now, you're seeing some My Team. And I didn't mention it, but got past Guan Yu Zhou there, and he gets back past, and Piastri gets back past. And the reasoning there is if you look at the top right of my steering wheel, I'm running out of gas, and I was up almost point 0.2 laps, I think, earlier in the race. And at this point, I'm in trouble. I know I'm in trouble. I've got to lift and coast and hope that I can get myself to the end. But it at this point just feels like a bit of an annual recurring theme or tradition that I do this, because Bahrain last year, my team, first race of the year, I underfueled and absolutely cooked. Got a free space there. Thank you, Guan Yu Zhou. Appreciate that. Joe Guan Yu. And I apparently have done it again. I mean, it looks like I'm gonna run out of gas unless I get really creative and aggressive with my fuel saving, in which case I'm just gonna lose positions anyway. So I'm kind of just planning to lift and coast a little bit and see if I can limp to the end. Yuki gets a little cheeky there when I lift and coast, and again made the contact and didn't have any damage. So I don't know if simulation damage is broken or if this car is just an absolute beast, but it's amazing to me that I didn't get any damage with all the times that I made contact with other cars in this race. I'm sure I'll get damage in some later race, and I know I got damage in the Bahrain race, so I have to think that we just put some upgrades on the car that put titanium all over the car and just has kept it super stable and strong, which is nice. We're going to save money on repairs that way, so that's good with me. We're on the last lap now, and it is very clear at this point that I'm going to run out of gas. It's just a question of when do I run out of gas. I am 0.18 laps down on fuel at this point. I am 18th place, so Joe Guan Yu had the retirement, obviously, but outside of that, we've been able to make up 3 places, which I think is pretty good. And if we had fueled the car correctly, or not even correctly, if I just put half a lap more of fuel in there, maybe even a third of a lap of fuel more in there, I would have been able to run to the end and probably would have had another 3 places, because let's see, Piastri got by me, Yuki got by me, well, 2 places. I would have had 2 places. So I think I would have been P16 if I had fueled up correctly. But at this point, I'm just hoping I can make it to the end. And it's looking like I'm not going to make it to the end, but hopefully I can just limp over the line and keep my space. Sargent gets past me easily, and you see the yellow flag. I have run out of gas. I am in low fuel mode to the end of the race. My teammate gets past me. Nick DeVries is quickly coming up on me and gets past me, and I end up P21. So I did finish the race, which was nice, but I didn't do that well. And honestly, I think I'm just going to start taking the default fuel levels from now on. I'm not going to listen to what the race strategy tells me, because if you end up using a little bit more fuel during the race, all of a sudden you don't have enough to finish the race. So, not the best outcome for me, but at least we made up a place from the Joe Guan Yu retirement. It was disappointing to not beat my teammates and disappointing to not beat some of those other guys that I was ahead of on track, but I do think that there was encouraging pace. I felt like I was quick. I felt like I was driving well. It feels like the car is responsive. I think it's just going to be calibrating a little bit and getting ready for some of these future races. So stay tuned.